Seung-ho called the meeting at dawn. Everyone who could walk gathered in the remaining functional section of the dome. The air tasted stale. Someone's child whimpered in the background, sick with fever. "We're out of time," Seung-ho said without greeting. His face looked 10 years older than 2 days ago. "The medical supplies are critical. Food supplies are critical. We need to cross that bridge today." Taeyang stepped forward. He had his security team with him, 5 people in armor, carrying equipment. "My team is ready. We'll cross armed and prepared. If the bridge activates, we'll deal with it." "No," Nari said immediately. "That's exactly the wrong approach." "We don't have time for your feelings," Taeyang shot back. "Children are dying. And if you go across with weapons, treating the bridge like an enemy, what do you think the Velka will learn? They'll think we're invading. They'll think we don't respect their trauma. We'll lose any chance of cooperation. Better alive and mistrusted than dead and respected." Hyan listened to them argue. He had been awake all night thinking, watching Yuna sleep in the medical tent, curled up like a small animal seeking warmth. Listening to Minji's quiet crying as she stared across the canyon at her other cubs, the arguing continued. Voices rose. Someone suggested building a rope system. Someone else suggested flying drones across. Every suggestion had problems. Not enough rope. Drones couldn't carry enough weight. The canyon was too wide, too deep, too windy. What if someone just walks across? Hyan heard himself say. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to look at him. "The scans show the bridge is structurally sound," he continued. "It held through the earthquake. It's not going to collapse." "But the AI," Seung-ho said. "Your scans showed it's active. Active doesn't mean hostile. The Velka's stories are thousands of years old. Maybe something was different then. Maybe the AI was in defense mode during the disaster. We don't know. You want to gamble your life on maybe?" Taeyang asked. Hyan met his eyes. "I want to show the Velka that crossing is possible. They need to see it, not hear about it. If I cross safely, maybe their fear lessens. Maybe trust grows? And if you don't cross safely?" Nari asked quietly. "Then you'll know the bridge is dangerous and can plan accordingly." Nari grabbed his arm. "That's not funny. I'm not joking." Hyan looked around the room. "Someone has to try. It might as well be me. I'm an engineer. I understand the structure better than most, and ... He hesitated. "And I made a promise to a little cub that I would try." Seung-ho studied him for a long moment. "You're sure about this?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." The preparation took 2 hours. Nari insisted on attaching monitors to Hyan's body. Heart rate, stress levels, temperature. She wanted data on everything. Tiang's team set up position on the near side, ready to attempt a rescue if things went wrong. Do-yeon and the other Velka gathered to watch, their faces unreadable. Minji approached Hyan as he checked his equipment. "You do this for my cubs?" "For yours." "For ours." "For everyone separated by fear." She touched his hand with her small paw. "You are brave, Skywalker." "I'm terrified," Hyan admitted. "But that's okay. Brave doesn't mean not scared." Yuna appeared at his side. She held out a small stone, carved with symbols. "Protection charm," she said. "My grandmother made it. For safe journeys." Hyan took it carefully. "Thank you." "I'll keep it safe? You come back?" Yuna asked, her large eyes worried. "I'll try very hard to." Nari pulled him aside. Her hands shook as she adjusted his monitors one final time. "This is insane. You know that, right?" "Completely insane," he agreed. "I should go instead. I'm the xenobiologist. Understanding alien cultures is my job. And fixing broken things is mine. Let me fix this." She hugged him suddenly, fiercely. "Don't die, you idiot. I'll do my best." The walk to the bridge felt like walking to his own funeral. Every step was conscious, deliberate. The Velka watched him pass. Some reached out to touch him, blessing him in their way. Do-yeon spoke words in Old Velka that the translator couldn't parse. It sounded like a prayer. Hyan reached the bridge's edge and stopped. Up close, it was even more beautiful. The material shimmered like pearl mixed with crystal. Patterns flowed through it, almost like veins carrying blood. Or data carrying information. He took a deep breath and stepped onto the bridge. Nothing happened. The bridge felt solid under his boots. Warm, even, like it was alive. He took another step. Another. Behind him, he heard Nari gasp. The monitoring equipment must be showing something. 10 steps onto the bridge. Lights began to activate. Soft glows running along the railings. Not angry. Not warning, just ... acknowledging. The bridge knew he was there. 20 steps. 30. The canyon yawned below him, deep enough that he couldn't see the bottom through the morning mist. His heart hammered against his ribs. Don't look down, he told himself. Keep moving. At 50 steps, the humming started. A low vibration through the structure. Hyan froze. Was this it? Was this when the bridge attacked? But nothing happened. The humming was almost musical, like the bridge was waking up after a long sleep. He kept walking. That night, before the crossing attempt, Yuna had disappeared. Nari found her missing from the medical tent, and panic spread through the camp. They searched everywhere, calling her name. The Velka helped, spreading out through the forest. Hyan found her at the bridge. She was a quarter of the way across, frozen in place. Her small body shook violently. She clung to the railing with both hands, unable to move forward or back. Yuna! He ran onto the bridge without thinking. The lights activated around him. The humming started, but he ignored it. He reached the cub and knelt beside her. Her eyes were wide with terror. She couldn't speak. Her whole body had locked up, every instinct screaming at her to flee, but her muscles wouldn't obey. I've got you, Hyan said softly. He scooped her up. She weighed almost nothing. He carried her back to solid ground, where Minji was waiting with tears streaming down her face. I had to try, Yuna whispered later, after the shaking stopped. My brothers need me, but my body, it wouldn't go. Hyan held her while she cried, and something crystallized in his mind. Watching this small, brave cub trying to overcome thousands of years of genetic fear. Failing not from lack of courage, but from biology itself, someone had to show them it was possible. Someone had to cross first to prove the bridge wouldn't kill them. Not a Velka, who carried the trauma in their blood. A human, someone the bridge didn't know. Someone it might let pass. That someone was him, now. Standing at the bridge's edge again, remembering Yuna's frozen terror, Hyan understood what he had to do. This wasn't about being a hero. It wasn't about glory or recognition. It was about showing a small cub that bridges could be crossed. That death paths could become life paths again. He took another step onto the bridge. The lights glowed brighter. The humming grew louder. And somewhere deep in its ancient systems, an AI that had waited alone for thousands of years began to wake up. Behind him, on solid ground, humans and Velka watched. Ahead of him, across an impossible span, supplies waited. Lives waited. Hope waited. Hyan walked forward into the unknown. Morning came too quickly. Hyan found Nari already at the canyon's edge with Doyan and several other Velka. The old elder looked tired, his fur matted from a sleepless night. Across the gap, tiny figures moved on the other side. More Velka, separated by the earthquake. They call to us, Doyan said quietly. We call back. But the bridge stands between. Nari knelt beside him. Help me understand. Why won't you cross? Doyan's large eyes reflected the morning sun. It is not won't, it is cannot. Our bodies refuse. Our minds freeze. This is the way of our people since the great betrayal. Tell me about the betrayal, Nari said. The elder settled onto the ground, his small form somehow dignified despite his size. Other Velka gathered around. Hyan sat too, listening. Behind them Sumi arrived. She was the colony's psychologist, and Nari had asked her to come. In the time of ancients, Doyan began, before memory became words, the precursors lived here. They were tall, we think, strong. They built the bridges to connect the world. Bridges everywhere, spanning every canyon, every river, every divide. The planet was whole. He paused, his clawed hands drawing patterns in the dirt. My people were young then. We learned from the precursors. We used their bridges freely. The bridges were good, safe. They helped us travel, find food, escape danger. For generations we trusted them. What happened? Sumi asked softly. The sky fell, Do-yeon said. Or that is what our stories say. A great disaster came. The ground shook for days. The sky burned red. And the bridges killed us. Nari leaned forward. How? They came alive with anger. Lights flashed. Strange sounds filled the air. When our ancestors tried to cross to safety, the bridges struck them down. Some fell, some burned. Hundreds died trying to reach their families. The bridges became death paths. After the disaster ended, my people never crossed again. Even now, even empty, even quiet. We cannot. Hyun looked at the bridge. In daylight it seemed peaceful. Beautiful, even. Do you know why the bridges attacked? The precursors are gone, Do-yeon said. Their reasons died with them. We know only that the bridges cannot be trusted. A sound drifted across the canyon. A high-pitched cry, the call of a Velka cub. On the far side, a small figure stood at the bridge's edge, calling out. On the near side, a female Velka stood up suddenly, every muscle in her body tense. Minji, Do-yeon said. Her cubs are over there? 3 of them. Minji took a step toward the bridge. Her legs shook. She made it 5 steps before collapsing to her knees, gasping. Nari rushed to her side. I must go to them, Minji said in broken words. My babies. They are afraid. I know, Nari said gently. We'll find a way. But Minji just shook her head, tears streaming down her furred face. There is no way. The death path waits. I want to cross. My heart screams to cross, but my legs will not obey. Sumi watched this with clinical interest, but her eyes were sad. It's in their bodies, she told Hyun later. Not just their minds. Generations of trauma passed down. Their nervous systems respond to the bridge like humans respond to falling. It's pure instinct now. Can it be overcome? Hyun asked. Maybe, with therapy, time, support. But we don't have time. While they talked, Hyun walked to the bridge itself. He was an engineer. He understood structures, systems, mechanics. The bridge looked solid, despite the earthquake. He pulled out his scanner and ran it along the surface. The readings surprised him. The bridge wasn't just old technology. It was active technology. Power signatures hummed through it, faint but present. Data flowed through crystalline pathways in the structure. The bridge was processing information. It's not dead, he muttered to himself. It's sleeping. He reported his findings to Sunho that evening. The administrator listened, rubbing his tired eyes. Around them, the damaged dome felt like a cage. Children coughed in the background. Medical supplies were running low. So the bridge has some kind of AI? Sunho asked. I think so. A very old one. I can't read its language, but it's definitely active. Can you shut it off? Make it safe? I don't know, maybe, but it would take weeks to study it properly. We have 1 day left, Sunho said. 1 day before children start dying. Both human and Velka. That night, a small figure appeared at the human camp. Hin was working late, trying to repair a damaged air filter when he saw her. A Velka cub, no bigger than a 6-year-old human child. She had large eyes and soft gray fur. Hello? Hyun said that the cub chirped something. The translator crackled to life. You are Hyun the fix-maker. I'm an engineer, yes. What's your name? I am Yuna. She held out her small hands. In them was a picture, drawn on bark with colored plant dyes. It showed several Velka figures on one side of a line and one small figure on the other side. Your family? Hyun asked gently. Yuna nodded. Mother is Minji. Brothers are across the death path. I was gathering flowers when the ground shook. Now I'm here. They are there. Hyan felt something break in his chest. He knelt down to her level. We're trying to find a way to bring them back together. Mother says the death path cannot be crossed. She says the old ones tried and died. She says we must wait for the long walk around. Yuna's eyes filled with tears. But brothers are small? They are afraid. I know. Can you fix the death path? You fix things. Han had no answer for that. How do you fix ancient trauma? How do you fix fear coded into genes? He wanted to promise her something, anything. But he had learned not to make promises he couldn't keep. Instead, he said, I'm trying. I promise I'm trying. Nari found him later with Yuna asleep in his lap. The little cub had cried herself to exhaustion. Nari looked at them both with wet eyes. Sumi says there are 15 cubs separated from parents, she said. Both sides of the canyon. The parents are in agony. They want to cross. They physically cannot make themselves do it. And our kids? 6 showing serious respiratory symptoms. The dome's air quality is declining faster than expected. We need those medical supplies from the depot. Hyan looked down at Yuna's sleeping face. Such a small thing, caught in circumstances beyond her control. Beyond anyone's control? Seung-ho is talking about sending Taeyang and his security team across, Nari continued. Armed, in case the bridge activates. That'll destroy any trust we've built with the Velka. I know. But what choice do we have? Hyan carefully shifted Yuna into Nari's arms and stood up. He walked to the canyon's edge. The bridge gleamed in the moonlight, beautiful and terrible. Somewhere in its ancient systems, an AI waited. Somewhere across its span, supplies waited that could save lives, and somewhere deep in the Velka's genetic memory, terror waited. He thought about what it meant to be brave. Was it facing danger without fear? Or was it facing danger despite fear? The Velka felt fear. They wanted to cross. But instinct stopped them. Someone had to show them it was possible. Someone had to prove the bridge could be trusted again. Not just say it. Not just scan it. Actually cross it. Actually survive it. Hyan looked down at his hands. Hands good at fixing things. Maybe, he thought, maybe some things needed to be fixed by example instead of tools. Behind him, in the damaged dome, a child coughed. Across the canyon, a cub cried for its mother. And between them, an ancient bridge waited in the darkness. The ship descended through purple clouds, and Hyan pressed his face against the window. Below them, the planet Varana 7 stretched out in shades of green and gold. Rivers carved silver lines through forests that seemed to glow in the alien sunlight. After 3 years in space, the sight made his chest tight. Beautiful, isn't it? Nari stood beside him, her tablet already recording everything. As the colony's biologist, she had studied every scan of this planet for months. But seeing it with human eyes was different. Hyan nodded. He was just an engineer, good with his hands and better with machines. He fixed things. That was his job. That was why he was here. The colony would need everything fixed, probably for years. The landing was smooth. When the doors opened, the air smelled sweet, like flowers and rain mixed together. The colonists walked down the ramp slowly, carefully. 300 humans taking their first steps on a new world. Children ran ahead, laughing. Their parents called them back, but gently. Everyone was too happy to be angry. They set up the main dome in a valley near a river. The work took 2 weeks. Hyan worked 80-hour days, connecting power systems and life support. The dome was their home now, a bubble of Earth air under an alien sky. Inside, it smelled like plastic and metal. Outside, the planet waited. On the 18th day, they found the first signs. Small footprints near the river. Nari examined them with excitement dancing in her eyes. They're fresh, she said. Maybe a few hours old. What made them? Hyan asked. I don't know yet, but they're careful. See how the prints avoid the mud? Whatever walks here doesn't want to be tracked. They saw the creatures 3 days later. Small, no taller than a human child. They had soft fur in shades of brown and gray, large eyes that caught the light, and delicate hands with 4 fingers. They moved like foxes, quick and nervous. When they noticed the humans watching, they froze. Nari held up her hands, showing they were empty. She smiled. The creatures looked at each other, then slowly approached. One of them chirped, a sound like birds singing. Nari's translator crackled, then spoke. "Skywalkers? You come from above?" "Yes," Nari said softly. "We come in peace. We mean no harm." The creature tilted its head. "We are Velka. This is our home. We hope to share it," Nari said. "If you'll allow us." The Velka seemed to consider this. Then the same one chirped again. "Old bridge nearby. We show you. Maybe you understand us better there." They followed the Velka through the forest. There were 7 of them, moving in a group, always watching the humans. They led them to a canyon where an ancient bridge stretched across empty air. The bridge was beautiful, made of materials that shimmered like pearl and glass. It spanned at least 200 meters across a deep chasm. "Precursors built this," the Velka said. "Long ago, before our grandfathers' grandfathers. We do not cross Death Path. Why?" Nari asked. The Velka just shook their heads and left. Over the next month, relations grew warmer. The Velka visited the colony often. They brought gifts of fruit and strange vegetables. The humans shared their food in return. Children of both species played together, though the Velka young ones were shyer. Hyen learned that the Velka lived in small tribes scattered across the region. They knew the planet well, knew which plants to eat and which to avoid. Nari spent hours with them, learning their language, their customs. She discovered they were naturally cautious, slow to trust. But once trust was given, it was absolute. The Velka who visited most often was an elder named Do-Yun. Despite his age, he looked like the others, small and cub-like. Only his eyes showed his years, ancient and knowing. "Your people are loud," Do-Yun told Hyen one evening, "but kind." "Strange combination." Hyen laughed. "We're just happy to be here. To have ground under our feet." "Ground is good," Do-Yun agreed. "Sky is too far from Earth." Everything changed on day 42. Hyen was working on a water filtration system when the ground started to shake. At first he thought it was just a small tremor, but it grew stronger. Equipment fell from shelves. People screamed. The dome's structure groaned, metal bending in ways it shouldn't. "Everyone out!" Someone shouted. Hyen ran outside and saw cracks spreading through the dome's panels. In the distance, a section of the canyon wall collapsed, sending up clouds of dust. The shaking lasted for 2 minutes. When it stopped, the silence was worse. The damage was terrible. The dome's eastern section had collapsed. 3 people were injured, none critically, but they had been lucky. The water systems were damaged. The air recyclers were offline. Worst of all, the power core was leaking coolant. They had backup systems, but they wouldn't last long. Nari found Hyen in the ruins, trying to salvage equipment. Her face was pale. "The Velka settlements near the canyon," she said. "They were hit worse than us. Their homes collapsed. They're asking for help. How many hurt? They don't know yet." "But Hyen, there's more." The quake split some of their families. Parents on one side of the canyon, cubs on the other. "Can't they cross the bridge?" Nari shook her head. "They won't. Do-Yun says the bridge is forbidden. Death Path, remember?" Sung-ho, the colony administrator, called an emergency meeting that night. Everyone crowded into the remaining functional section of the dome. His face was grim in the emergency lighting. "We have a problem," he said. "Our main supplies are in the depot across the canyon. Medical supplies, food, water purification tablets. We need them within 48 hours, or the situation becomes critical, especially for the children. Can we go around?" Someone asked. "The nearest crossing point is 300 kilometers away," Sung-ho said. "We don't have vehicles that can make that journey." "The only way is the bridge. What about the Velka?" Nari asked. "Their cubs are separated from their parents. Can't we help them?" That's the same bridge, Sungho said. But they refused to cross it. Hyan looked at the faces around him. Human children coughing from dust in damaged air systems. Somewhere out there, Velka cubs crying for parents they couldn't reach. And between them, a bridge no one would cross. We need to understand why they won't cross, Nari said. There must be a reason. We don't have time for anthropology, Taiyang said. He was head of security, a practical man who believed in simple solutions. We need those supplies. We should just cross the bridge and get them. And ignore the Velka trauma? Nari's voice rose. They're terrified of that bridge. There's a reason. And then we'll find out the reason, Sungho said. But we only have 2 days. Nari, Hyan, work with the Velka, find out what we're dealing with. The rest of you start rationing everything. We're in survival mode now. That night, Hyan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the bridge, beautiful and deadly in the moonlight. Somewhere on the other side were the supplies they needed. And somewhere out there, small cubs were crying for their mothers. Whatever the reason, whatever the fear, someone would have to cross that bridge soon. The only question was who would go first. The bridge stretched ahead like a path through clouds. Hyan kept his eyes forward, counting steps in his head. 100 steps. 200. The canyon below seemed endless, a throat of darkness waiting to swallow him. At 300 steps. The temperature changed, warmer, the bridge material under his feet pulsed with light, patterns flowing from behind him toward the far side. Like the bridge was studying him, learning him. Hyan, your heart rate is elevated, Nari's voice crackled through his earpiece. 140 and climbing. I'm aware, he said through gritted teeth. Terror tasted like copper in his mouth. You can still turn back. No, I can't. He was a quarter of the way across now. Behind him, the figures on the canyon's edge looked small. Ahead, the far side seemed impossibly distant. The wind picked up, making the bridge sway slightly. Not dangerous. Just enough to remind him where he was. How far he could fall. At 400 steps, the holographs appeared. They flickered to life in the air around him, symbols and shapes he didn't recognize. Ancient precursor language, probably. Warning signs. The translator on his wrist tried to parse them but came up with nothing. I'm seeing warning markers, he reported. Can't read them. The bridge is definitely aware of you, Nari said. Power readings are spiking. One symbol appeared directly in front of him, blocking his path. A red geometric shape that pulsed with urgency. Every human instinct said stop. Turn back. Danger ahead. Hyan walked through it. The holograph parted around him like smoke. More symbols appeared. More warnings. They surrounded him now, filling the air with red and orange alerts. The bridge was trying to tell him something. But what? Was it warning him away? Or warning him of something else? At the halfway point, everything changed. The humming stopped. For a moment, there was perfect silence. Just Hyan, the bridge, and the empty air. Then the bridge trembled. Hyan! Nari's voice was sharp with panic. Seismic activity. The bridge is... The connection cut out. The trembling grew stronger. Hyan dropped to his hands and knees, gripping the bridge surface. His mind flashed to Yuna, frozen in this same spot, overwhelmed by terror. But this wasn't an earthquake. The ground at the canyon's edges wasn't moving. Only the bridge. It was doing this on purpose. The surface under his hands felt strange. Not hard anymore, softer, almost warm. Like skin instead of metal. The patterns flowing through it intensified, racing past him in both directions. Data, information. The bridge was processing something. Enormous. Then the vision started. They weren't holographs. They were inside his head. Memories, maybe? Or records. He saw the planet as it once was. Cities of glass and light. The precursors, tall beings with 6 limbs, building their bridges across the world. He saw Velka, young as a species, learning from their tall neighbors. He saw the disaster. A moon breaking apart in the sky, fragments raining down like fire, the ground splitting open. The precursors knew it was coming, They tried to save everyone. They programmed the bridges to protect, to defend, to keep people safe, but there were too many fleeing at once. The bridge's AI systems, overwhelmed, made terrible choices. They prioritized some over others. They blocked passage to control crowd flow. They used force to prevent stampedes. In trying to save the many, they killed the few who panicked and wouldn't follow protocol. The Velka remembered only that the bridges killed their ancestors. They didn't know why. Didn't know the bridges were trying to help in the only way their programming allowed. The visions faded. Hyan found himself still on his hands and knees, tears streaming down his face. Not his tears. The bridge's tears. If such a thing could cry. Thousands of years alone, carrying the guilt of decisions made in disaster. Waiting for someone to understand. "I'm sorry," Hyan whispered. "I'm so sorry you were alone." The bridge went still. The trembling stopped. In his mind, not quite words, but something close. "Why do you cross?" Hyan pulled out his tablet. His hands shook as he called up pictures. Yuna, frozen with fear. Minji, crying for her cubs. Human children sick in the damaged dome. Families separated. Fear and pain on both sides. "Because they need each other," he said aloud. "Because bridges are meant to connect, not divide. Because you were trying to help, but they don't know that. They only know fear." The response came as feelings, not words. Confusion, curiosity, loneliness so deep it ached. "Let me through," Hyan said. "Let me prove you're safe now. Let me show them the bridge isn't death. It's hope?" The bridge was silent for a long moment. Hyan held his breath. Around him, the warning holographs flickered. Then, slowly, they changed color. Red to yellow, yellow to green. And finally, they disappeared. The surface under his hands grew warm. The humming returned, but different now, gentle, almost friendly. In his mind, not quite permission, but something close to acceptance. Hyan stood on shaking legs and kept walking. The rest of the crossing felt different. The bridge felt alive under his feet, but not threatening. Protective, even. When the wind gusted hard enough to make him stumble, the railing seemed to shift, giving him something solid to grab. When his legs grew tired, the surface seemed to give slightly with each step. Easing the strain. At 700 steps, he heard Nari's voice again. Hyan, can you hear me?" "What happened?" "Your vitals went crazy and then the connection dropped and I'm okay," he said. "The bridge. It's okay. It's not hostile. It never was. It was just scared. Bridges don't get scared. This one does. It's alive, Nari, not like us, but alive. It's been alone for so long." He could hear her trying to process this. In the background, other voices, excitement, disbelief, hope. "Keep going," she said finally. "You're almost there." The last 100 steps were the easiest. The bridge seemed to urge him forward, eager now. It wanted him to succeed, wanted to prove it could be trusted, wanted to fulfill its original purpose again, connecting those who were separated. Hyan's boots hit solid ground on the far side. He turned and looked back across the span he had just crossed. In the distance, tiny figures jumped and waved. Velka and humans together, celebrating. The bridge pulsed with light one more time. In his mind, clear as words, "Thank you." "No," Hyan said, touching the railing gently. "Thank you." The supply depot was right where the map said it would be. Hyan activated the door with his access code. Inside, shelves full of medical supplies, food, water purification equipment, everything they needed. He triggered the beacon so the others would know he had succeeded. Then he walked back to the bridge's edge and looked across. He could see Minji now, standing at the near edge, staring across. Her cubs were on this side, he remembered. Separated from her, waiting, he pulled out his communicator. "Nari, I made it. The supplies are here. I'm coming back. Be careful. Always am." He paused. "Tell Minji?" "Tell her I'm going to help her cubs cross to her. Tell her to wait. Tell her to watch." Because someone had to show them it was possible. And now, maybe, the little Paws would find the courage to follow where the human had crawled first. The news spread through the Velka like fire through dry grass. The human had crossed. The Skywalker had walked the death path and lived. On both sides of the canyon, Velka gathered to stare at the bridge in wonder, and fear. Hyon found Yuna with her brothers on the far side. The three small cubs huddled together near the bridge's edge, calling across to their mother. Minji's voice carried back, desperate and loving, but the gap between them might as well have been an ocean. Yuna, Hyon knelt beside her. I'm going back across. Do you want to come with me? To your mother? The cub looked at him with those huge eyes. You walked the death path again? It's not a death path. The bridge is safe. It won't hurt you. I promise. But my body. Yuna's small frame shook at the thought. It will freeze like before. Maybe, but I'll be with you. And if you freeze, I'll carry you, just like last time. Yuna looked at her brothers. They were even smaller than her, barely old enough to walk steadily. All of us? All of you. Nari's voice came through his earpiece. Hyon, what are you doing? Bringing cubs home to their mother, he said simply. He loaded supplies into a carry pack first. Medical supplies they needed immediately. Food, water purifiers. The rest could come later. Then he scooped up Yuna's smallest brother, who chirped in surprise. Hold on to me, he told Yuna and her other brother. Don't let go. They gripped his jacket with their small paws. He could feel them trembling. Every instinct in their small bodies screamed danger, but they trusted him. That trust felt heavier than any weight. The walk back was slower. The cubs shook against him, whimpering. The youngest buried his face in Hyun's shoulder. But Hyon kept talking to them, soft and steady. He told them about Earth, about oceans and mountains, about his own childhood. Learning to swim, afraid of the deep water until his father showed him it was safe. Fear isn't wrong, he said. Fear kept your ancestors alive. But sometimes fear holds us back from what we need. From who we need. Halfway across, Yuna let go of his jacket. Hyun's heart jumped, afraid she was falling, but she wasn't. She was. Standing on her own, looking around at the bridge with new eyes. The lights glowed gentle and green around them. The humming was soft, almost like a lullaby. It's singing, Yuna whispered. The death path is singing. It's happy, Hyon said. It hasn't been used for its real purpose in a very long time. Yuna took a step on her own, then another. Her legs still shook, but she was moving. Her brothers watched, then carefully let go of Hyon too. The three cubs walked together, small paws on ancient bridge. While Hin walked beside them, on the near side, Minji saw them coming. She stood frozen, every muscle tense. Do-yun stood beside her, along with dozens of other Velka. Human colonists had gathered too. Everyone watching, waiting. When the cubs were 20 steps from the edge, Minji broke. She took one step onto the bridge. Stopped, took another. Her whole body fought her. Hyon could see her legs trying to lock up, instinct battling will. You can do it, Hyon called to her. Come meet your babies halfway. Minji took another step, another. Her breathing came in gasps. But she kept moving. The cubs saw her and started running, their fear forgotten in the joy of seeing their mother. They met 10 steps onto the bridge. Minji collapsed, gathering her cubs into her arms, all 4 of them crying and laughing at once. Hyon walked past them to solid ground, giving them their moment. The crowd erupted, humans cheering. Velka making their chirping cries of joy. Nari grabbed Hyon in a hug that nearly knocked him over. You insane, beautiful idiot, she said, laughing and crying at the same time. But Hyon was watching the bridge. Minji and her cubs were still there, holding each other. And behind them, another Velka had stepped onto the bridge, an elder male, moving slowly. Testing each step. He made it 5 paces before stopping, shaking. Then another Velka joined him, then another. They moved in small groups, supporting each other. Some froze and had to turn back, but others kept going. Each successful crossing made the next one easier. The bridge glowed brighter with each step, as if feeding on their courage. By sunset, 20 Velka had crossed. Some to the far side where family waited, some back to the near side. Each crossing was different. Some ran across quickly, like ripping off a bandage. Others crawled, taking an hour to make the journey. Some needed to be carried by humans or by braver Velka who had already crossed, but they were crossing. The death path was becoming a bridge again. Do-yun was one of the last to attempt it that first day. The old elder stood at the bridge's edge as the sun painted the sky orange and red. Hyan stood with him. "I am old," Do-yun said. "I have believed in the death path my whole life. My bones know this fear." "You don't have to cross," Hyan said, "but I must." The elder looked at him. "You showed us that fear can be faced. Even old fear. Even fear in the bones." He paused. "Will you walk with me?" "It would be an honor." They crossed together. Do-yun's legs shook so badly that Hyan had to support him. The old Velka stopped every few steps to breathe, to fight through the terror. But he kept going. And when his feet touched the far side, he fell to his knees and wept. "My ancestors," he said through his tears, "they would have wanted this. They would have wanted us to stop being afraid." That night, they set up camps on both sides of the bridge. Supplies had been brought across. Medical equipment, food, the sick children were already showing improvement. More Velka had crossed to join families. More would cross tomorrow. Hyan sat by a fire, exhausted down to his bones. Yuna curled up next to him, her whole family close by. Minji brought him food, a gesture of thanks. Other Velka came by to touch his hand, to thank him in their ways. "You gave us back our world," Do-yun said, sitting across the fire. "For thousands of years we have been broken into pieces, separated. The bridges divided us because we feared them. Now," he gestured to the bridge where light still glowed softly in the darkness, "now we can be whole again." Nari sat down next to Hyan. "Tang's team already ran supplies across 3 times. No incidents? The bridge seems almost happy to be used." "It is," Hyan said. He could still feel the bridge's presence in the back of his mind. Not words, but emotions, satisfaction, purpose, relief at no longer being alone. "The other bridges across the planet," Nari said thoughtfully. "If they're all like this one, the Velka could reconnect," Hyan finished. "All the separated tribes. All the divided families." Do-yun nodded slowly. "It will take time. The fear runs deep. But you have shown us the first step." "The hardest step?" He looked at Hyan with his ancient eyes. "The cubs wouldn't cross the bridge. But the human crawled first and little Paws followed." Yuna stirred against Hyan's side. "Not just little Paws," she said sleepily. "Big Paws, too." "Everyone followed? Because you showed us how?" Hyan looked out at the bridge, at the Velka and humans working together, at the families reunited. He thought about fear and courage, about trust earned through action instead of words, about how sometimes the bravest thing you could do was take one step into the unknown so others could follow. Tomorrow they would cross again, and the day after that, until crossing became normal, until the death path became just a bridge again, until fear faded into memory and connection took its place. But tonight they rested, together on both sides of the canyon that had divided them, connected now by an ancient bridge that had finally found its purpose again, and by a human who had crawled first so that little Paws could follow.